All right. So nice to see everybody. Hi, Chaya, Caitlin, Libby, Margaret, Proxima, Stacy, Scott, Stu, Yogi, Linda. I hope everyone's good. That's a small group tonight, man. Tuesday must have just like burnt out everybody. Like you're the enduring like 11 or 12 that stuck it out. Oh, there's 13. Cool. There's Sanjay. Hi, buddy. So it's fun. All right. You all know the drill. Sit correctly. Feet underneath the knees. Flex the feet. Press the hands and the thighs, not on your dogs. I know we all got pets hanging out with us. Lift the chest. Exhale, drop the shoulders. Press down again, lift the chest, squeeze the back ribs in, side rib forward, front rib up, drop the shoulders again, move the head back, lean the hips back. Let your eyes close. So in Tuesday's class, I kind of touched briefly on what it takes for you to come through. All right, how do we remove those modifications of the mind that the 6th and 7th Yoga Sutra teach us about, so that the 3 things that create knowledge comes through. But as we go into practice today, can we take a moment and recognize a lot of the language and the rhetoric about this free time, air quotes, that we all have, is about producing more, writing a book, getting in shape, doing whatnot. And if that's what you want, if that's what you want to come through for you, all more power to you. But when you get to the yoga mat, all right, I've talked about before, leaving space, not just for all your expectations of what you're going to get out of this, but leave space for something wholly new to come through, undiscovered. And how you want to discover it. All right, we can be that kind of person who goes looking for exceptional things and fun things and demand the world of it, or demand it from the world. Or we can approach world with kind of a innocence and let ourselves be surprised. Let ourselves not expect and just receive. So you can take in things that others might not. Develop a ability to remove the gray shading, as I call it, remove the blasé, oh, of course it's like this, or of course it's like that. But enjoy things because they just are. So when you come into your practice tonight, my friends, we're all here looking for something. Flexibility, fitness, connection to a community, something to kill an hour on your Thursday, whatever it is. But you never know what you come across in this work. And even though we may do poses that may seem incredibly simple or incredibly hard, right? Those are 2 very defined ends in how you choose to receive those and what you choose to get, and what you can discover in them is really the greater practice. A practice that starts here in the yoga mat that you ultimately take into the world around you. And that world may be just your home right now. But we know that each of us are a complex being, and therefore the world around us that we've created must also be complex. So it offers infinite depth, infinite excitement if we let ourselves be excited by it, to discover it, and remove that blasé grayness that lets us look past things and miss all the color and wonder that we and others have created, and that is just natural in the world and in us. So my friends, just take a couple breaths in, keeping the feet flexed, the ribs up, shoulders away from your neck. Those nice deep breaths. And can you, even for just a few breaths, feel the coolness of the inhale, the warmth of the exhale. Take a moment, let there be a moment of wonder in that you can feel such a thing. That you can feel the warmth of the fabric of your shirt. Not just be grateful for it, but have some level of wonder in it. And carry that into your asana practice. Bring your palms together at your chest, thumbs touching your sternum. Index finger moves away from middle finger, pinky moves away from ring finger. Let some space in. We'll Om shortly 3 times to begin. Take a breath. Om. Flex your feet. Om. Back ribs in, side rib forward, front rib up. Om. Bow your head for a moment. And salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. If you don't know what that is, you don't have your own personal rhyme, mantra, poem, hymnal, prayer. May I offer that your life is not one of black or white, but of color, not just of yellows, reds, greens, and blues, or all the other colors of the spectrum, but the color that is your wit, your humor, your sadness, your happiness, and all things in between that make up the rainbow of you. And let it shine. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise and your eyes open. All righty. Great. So now I have to actually teach. All right. So come up off your mats. Grab a chair or a stool or something you can put your foot on. Today, we're going to explore some different twisting options. I want to give a little bit, not say easier class, but let's slow down and look at a few of the things in our twisting poses that help on the suppleness of our spine, our back, postural, and build up actual core body strength that can be very beneficial to our health through all our time. So you're going to open the chair up on your mat, and you're going to have the seat of the chair facing you, as Tristan's doing right now. All right. I would also like for you to have a block. If you don't have a block, you can use books, boxes around your house, whatever. Have that nearby, just on the floor. All right. So stand facing the chair in Tadasana. That means heels together, thighs together, big toes, joints touching, arms alongside your body. Just face the chair for a second. In Tadasana, looking at the chair, you don't need to look at me or the camera, right? Follow my words, and if you get lost, then you can bring yourself into it. But right, how do you know you're lost unless you have disconnected from what the teacher's saying and you get lost in your own work? And that's okay too, because maybe our work, the thing you connect to or realize, is more than what the teacher's sharing. I'm fully open to that idea and would love it. So standing in Tadasana, drop the arms. Take a second, finish your last seconds of fidgeting, because right, I can still see some of you, you're looking around, you're worrying about your countertops need to be done, you're checking your dinner. Even though we're at home, and it's your space you're most comfortable in, it's not a thing you're a slave to, right? The home is a manifestation of what we're practicing with ourselves. So recognize as you start to want to get out of the practice, what in your home is trying to distract you. So what is that in your own mental state that you're trying to get away from? Pick up your right foot and place your right foot on the seat of the chair. So your foot is directly under your knee. Now, here's the reason I asked you to have a block. If your leg is short enough that your knee is lower than your hip, I would put a block under your foot. For most of us, this is not going to be true. There you go, Ryan. Nice use of the stool legs or the stool bars. Cool. So notice already when you did that, what twist happened in your hips? So bring your foot down for a second. Put your right foot next to your left foot. Put both hands on the rim of your hips, just above the buttock. So the index finger comes around the top edge of the pelvis towards the front, and the thumb wraps around the back towards like the lower spine, touching the bone. Don't just grab your muffin oven. Now feel the balance left to right side, and then put your right foot up on the chair again. And did one hip go up? Did one hip go back or forward? Probably the right hip came up and the left hip rolled forward. So correct that, draw the right hip down, and move the left thigh and hip back so you're back to where you were in Tadasana. So you're not going to let your pelvis already start to be in a tilt or twist before you twist the spine. When we twist, if we have a base level pelvis that is not aligned, everything we do up into the spine is going to kind of be a mirror of what happens through the pelvis. Like I just said about the house is what we're practicing with ourselves mentally, emotionally. The same is true in our pelvis, about the rest of our spine and throughout other parts of our body, our foot to our knees and so forth. So once you've got that set, keep that there. Keep your right hand on your right hip. Take your left hand to your outer left knee, but trying to keep your left hip and leg where it is. Left hand, nope, to outer right knee. I'm sorry if I said outer left, but so left hand to outer right knee. Right hand stays on your hip. And just take a twist to your right and feel what happens to your pelvis if you just start to move. So twist your right ribs to the right and draw your left ribs around. Yeah, so it's not an intense thing. So take a breath. Check in with your hips. Did your right hip come up and did your left hip drop forward again? Oh yeah, most definitely. So untwist your upper body, put your left hand back on your left hip, move your left hip back, move your left thigh back, drop your right hip down, get them stable. So the legs have to actually be very strong in doing this. Push your right foot into the chair, push your left foot into the floor, and now move your left hand to the outer right knee and twist again. But this time, instead of twisting from your pelvis and your groin, go to your bottom floating ribs and twist your belly button and your bottom rib cage around first. Now stretch your right arm straight up to the sky, stretch your right ribs taller, twist your right ribs deeper, up and around. And then stretch your right arm out to the room behind you and use your left hand against your right knee to help rotate more. Very good. If your right hand ends up pointing out behind you, totally great, but twist your ribs any more, Ryan. Keep going. Good, everybody. Right palms down. Work your legs again. Check in. Let every breath be meditative in the sense, not blanking the mind, right? You all know how I feel about that. Or if you don't, remember that meditation is not blanking your mind. It is coming into conscious awareness and eventually control of all the colors and fragments of the mind. So take each breath and check in with the parts that we've already worked through. Are your legs active? Are your hips level? Are you twisting from the navel, the ribs, all the way up to the chest? And then take a piece from Thursday. Are you stretching both sides of your spine tall? Or as I like to say, are you being a screw up or are you a screw down? Don't be a screw down, be a screw up. So screw your spine upwards from the side body lifting taller, the front of the spine lifting taller, and take a few breaths. And check your neck even. Are you screwing down on the neck? Can you screw the neck up, the head up? Very nice. A few more seconds. It's a simple pose, but we're practicing foundational pieces so that when we add to it, we go into it with good structure, like the pelvis to your spine. Exhale and twist the way you came out. Upper ribs, mid ribs, lower ribs. Step the right leg down. Very good. Hands on your pelvis. Check it one side to the other, and then because you might have released, opened something, tightened something. Every second you learn is a little bit more that. Is another piece of your own inner teacher, your own experience manifesting. Left foot up in the chair. Try to keep your pelvis as level as you can. It's very hard. It's almost impossible. This is not a symmetrical thing. Once you've got your legs engaged to help hold your pelvis stable, take your right hand to the outside of the left knee and then twist, but from the navel, from the bottom ribs, and then from upper ribs, excuse me. Brain had a moment there. And then once you've twisted as far as you can, stretch your left arm higher up into the air and then rotate any greater degree And then when you've rotated high, I mean, screw up, stretch the arm out behind you so the shoulder blades and the upper back muscles get even deeper into it, stretching the arm away from the body. And then with each breath, let each breath be a moment of checking in with the components of the pose that we're emphasizing right now in the teaching lesson. Your thighs, your pelvis, are you moving the core body? And do you feel one side that's kind of shrunk lower than the other? Is the right side kind of shrunk down? Can you lift those ribs up away from the hips more? Or, see where your challenges are. Just because it might be challenging doesn't mean you're not doing the pose or creating the work. Right? This is really about, can you learn about what's going on in your body and enjoy the process of doing, right? Discover this. And have some wonder, like, whoa, what happened to my right side? Don't beat yourself up. And then you might even go, well, hey, my left shoulder is actually more open than my right shoulder. Good for me. Where is that removal of the gray, right? The colors of you coming through and some enjoyment and wonder at it. Because you're a complex being. We make complex things, and complexity can be beautiful. Take a few more deep breaths. Twist the spine up, lift the ribs, side ribs, front spine, tall. Move your neck with it. Screw your neck up. Not by twisting the head, or the head will turn, but not by leaning or tilting the head, but trying to lengthen each side of the neck and rotate the entire length of your spine, which goes up to your skull. Take a couple more breaths. Keep aware of yourself when you're coming out. Coming out is as important as going in. Take the arm up, untwist, keep yourself nice and tall. When you've untwisted, arms down, leg down. Very good. That's nice. Let's add to it. Hands on the hips. Right foot up in the chair. Do the best, keep your hips level. Now, when you take your left hand across to the right knee, here's the addition. Take your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. So pause, lean forward, and then slide that elbow across and down as much as you can. So you're trying to get the elbow, not even really the tricep. You want the elbow joint to the outside of that knee or thigh as best you can. Turn your left palm up to the ceiling, and then take your right palm to your left palm. Point your right elbow up to the ceiling, so your forearms from elbow to elbow are in one contiguous line, and you can push your right hand into your left hand, so your left arm pushes into the knee more. Hold it. Check your pelvis again, even though your hands aren't on your hips. Can you check in with your body and what happened to it? Apologize for the unruliness of my hair. Like, yoga pose structure is great, but my hair is all over the map. We're all going to have long hair by the time this is over. Not everybody, but Push the hand into the hand, push the right hand into the left, so the left has to resist the right a little bit more. Feel what happens when you push the right side hand into the left side hand and how that engages that right side of the body. Now, just because the left hand is on the bottom doesn't mean it's passive. Push the left hand into the right hand a little bit to help lengthen that left side, right? So now the twist will come easier from both parts at the same time rather than just one. Take a nice deep breath in. Move from the navel first, drawing the navel away from the thigh and to the right. Then the right ribs move to the right, all the way up, and the left ribs draw in towards the thigh. And then just a couple things to check in with as you hold and breathe. For one, if you couldn't get your elbow down to the knee, it's okay just to do the first part where your hand is on the knee. Don't worry about deep diving. Just do your best to build good structure. Doing it better habits is better than forcing, right? Like playing an instrument. You just practice good habits consistently, you'll get farther than like tearing your fingers up by playing too much too hard. Take a few deep breaths. Now, you've twisted the spine. Can you twist the rest of your cervical spine? Screw up. So even though you don't pick yourself straight up, screw your spine more the direction that your pelvis and your body's aimed. So you're leaning forward a little bit, extend your spine all the way up through the crown of the head. Get the neck involved and rotate the neck too. Hand into hand, arm into arm. Left arm's got the knee to brace off of and twist. Unlock your left knee. Work your left thigh more. It helps your right hip drop, I promise. A few more seconds. All right. Take the arms out, untwist the ribs, step down. Hands on your hips, thighs together, feet together in Tadasana. Try not to dance around too much. You're not fully done with the pose until you're in Tadasana for a couple seconds in the old ways. You can have your hands on your hips, it's all right. So hands on the hips, take your left foot up in the chair. Yeah. Check your pelvis, then exhale, right hand goes to left knee. Start to twist just a hair, just to start getting your back into it, and then slide that right arm down so the right elbow goes to the outside of the knee if you can. On top of it, again, if you can't fully get the elbow there, tightness, new to the practice, injuries, whatever it is, it's okay to stay taller and just do a little bit of a lean. Start creating that suppleness of your spine to create the practice movement. Hand to hand, stack the forearms, push the left hand arm down into the right, push the right up again so you engage those back muscles to help the twist. So each side is doing its part. All right, take a few deep breaths. And then on an exhale, don't let all the other parts go away, but work with them. Use them to build a better structure. Twist your butt, your navel, your ribs, your upper chest. Move your head up and back, and then twist your neck with it. Start practicing. So if you feel like your neck, left side of your neck is tight, lengthen it. Make some space. It may feel like it's out of your normal habit, which is what we're here for, right? We're here for something different than what we've got. So don't be afraid to experiment, right? You're complex, you're colorful, and find some joy in that experimentation. Like if you ever got those science kid sets when you were younger, even older, they're still fun, right? You get the stuff that comes in it and you put it in the vial and it makes colors and sparkles, and it's just all this wonder that's in the world. Have a moment of that with yourself. Even if you're not like giggling in joy about it, you're like sweating and thinking, oh my God, is he going to shut up and get us out of this pose? At least find some humor in it. All right, rotate just a few more seconds. Take a nice deep breath. Unlock your right knee so your left hip stays down. Move that right thigh back to keep the leg and pelvis engaged because the right hip wants to dive forward. I promise it's a habit of the body to twist the pelvis instead of the tight up mid and upper back. Exhale, untwist the upper body, let the arms out, stand up. Drop the foot down to Tadasana for a moment or two. Take a breath. Yeah, you just check in with yourself, what you've had, what you've gone through. Stuff like that, really good. Okay, so let's add to it in a certain way. So Tristan, if you watch Tristan for a moment, I'm going to have you watch her for a second to kind of talk her through this so you can, because I don't know if I've taught this in classes before. So if you'll come down to your knees, Tristan. You're going to scoot back from the chair a few inches. Step your right foot forward so the foot is just underneath the seat of the chair. If you have a stool or something like that, that'll be perfectly fine. The chair is just going to be there for support and such later. So you see Tristan's kind of in a kneeling position, and if she twisted from here, it would be a different kind of twist because without the knee being able to be locked, it will engage more to the hips and the thighs and the back. So I'm going to ask Tristan to take her left hand to her outer right knee. Right arm stretches up, twist, just like we did at the very first pose, navel, ribs, nice and tall, both sides, stretch the arm out. Great. Right, so here we are. It's a little different though, because if you flex your left thigh and push your left shin bone down into the floor hard, it makes you lean your chest back and you twist a little deeper. She nods in agreement. Like I said, this is a Penn and Teller of yoga couples right now. This is silly. But now we're going to engage deeper into the quad and groin. I'm going to ask Tristan to bend her right knee more so she kind of creates a small amount of lunge. but still has to keep the twist. So her hips go forward towards the chair. Don't let her, I'm going to ask, don't let your belly go towards the chair. So back off the lunge. Bring your knee back. Pull your abdomen, ribs deeper into the twist. Now, don't lean your shoulder. Abdomen. There you go. Twist your belly button. Now stretch your right thigh into the bend and your abs go the other way. Changes it, huh? So now it's not leaning forward into the spine. Now the spine is still twisting up and that bend of the knee drags that left quad. This actually gets deep into the left quad, the psoas muscle, and how the low back actually can stretch in this stuff. How does that feel? It's good. Great. All right. Thank you. All right. Untwist. You come out the way you got in. Arms up, out. Let's join her. You've seen. Now go do. All right. So on your knees, please step your right foot forward. The foot is just under the chair, but don't have the chair up against your knee. You want your foot just a little farther past your, from underneath your knee joint, because when you lunge, you don't want the knee far out past your toes. Okay. Hands on your hips, because even though your knees on the floor doesn't mean your pelvis is auto balanced. The right leg still has to do its work to keep this thigh stable, to keep the pelvis stable. All right. Take your left hand to the outer right knee. Start the twist to your right. Pause. Push your left shin bone down into the floor hard. Not like you're going to pick your knee up, but you're flattening that shin down the entire length. So now that that's engaged, take your right arm up. Twist deeper to your right. Exhaling as you go. Navel twist, ribs twist, upper body twist. Stretch the right arm out. Nice. So now strong legs. And then bend your right knee, lunging your hip down into it. And be aware that the belly wants to kind of stick out. You don't just lean your shoulders back. This isn't a backward bend. You have to draw your abdominal wall back and move the navel, not backwards, but deeper into the twist to help create that extension of the upper body. Try not to just lean back. Twist the core. Feel the difference? It's actually quite a bit of work. The quads must engage deeply. If your knee starts to feel it, you might want to check how much your right hip is pushing back and your left hip is falling forward. So my recommendation would be push your right knee towards the chair deeper, but pull your left hip away from the chair. So it's going to feel like you're taking yourself out of the twist, but you are, but only in the pelvis. Your spine stays in it. Better? All right, exhale, arms up, untwist. When we overly twist our pelvis and create imbalance in the pelvis, that's where we're going to get a lot of knee pain, low back pain, and can create a lot of issues in a lot of your yoga poses. There are some poses where we do twist the pelvis, but very few actually, especially in the early days, where that it's actually called for. So I lost my thought there. Left foot forward. Tell I'm getting hungry. The left foot forward, right knee still on the floor. Hands on your hips, check your balance. I'm not going to harp on it, so just assume that if you can get the second to do so or you need to do so, always do so. I'm not always going to remind you. Right hand goes to the outer left knee. Start the twist. Stretch the left arm up. Pause, press your right shin bone down. Already note how much your right hip wants to roll forward and your left hip back. Move your left hip towards the chair, move your right hip away from the chair so you keep a balance in your legs, in your pelvis, so it doesn't go into your knee and your low back. Twist, rotate your torso, and then when you've twisted as much as you think you can, you take your arm out. Push that right shin bone down. And then when you bend the knee, don't let your belly follow the knee. Don't lean your chest away from it though. Take a deep belly breath, pull the navel back and up, and twist from the core deeper as you bend that left knee. There you go. And that right hip moves away from the chair. So you create this nice length from your right quad all the way up to your left shoulder. Take a few breaths. Work that right shin down. Keep your right glute flexed. It'll help stabilize your right hip, and it'll keep your left hip from rising up as high. Bring the arm up, untwist from the pose. Step your right foot forward.
Hi, Dustin. How do you press your shin down? I think I'm pressing my knee down more than the shin.
Right, because you're tilting your spine to do so. Flex your calf and your thigh muscle. It's like you're trying to straighten your leg. You just can't because the leg's in your way. If you feel like you're only pushing your knee down, you're probably just tilting your pelvis and just dropping your body weight into it, which will become uncomfortable. You have to think about it like you're trying to straighten your leg so your quad and hamstring activates. It may take some practice because a lot of us, we're seated a lot. We don't engage the quad muscles. We want to tend to just use body weight and go for sensation, right? It's easy to feel like you're doing the pose when you just feel it really hard in the knee joint, but I'm asking you to be a little more subtle and engage more of you, which can be difficult at times, at the best of times. So now from here, take both elbows and both hands onto the chair if you can. If you can't get your elbows to the chair, your hands with your arms straight are fine, but did your hips come dumping forward? Push your hips back to where they were so your left hip's over the knee. Nice. Now, your right hand goes up and grabs the top bar of the chair. If you're using a stool, just grab the top of the stool somewhere. So your right hand is about the height of your head, if not just a little higher. That's okay. Your left arm is going to grab the right side of your chair, whether a chair leg, the seat of the chair, whatever. Bend your right elbow and point the elbow up to the ceiling so you feel that pull on the armpit and flesh, so you can look towards your right armpit or look the direction your right armpit is facing. Bend the right elbow, everybody. Pull up on that chair, push down with your left arm, keep the chair from going anywhere, pull up with your right arm. So your upper body's very flexed. Stretch your spine out long, take a belly breath, and now pull the navel up so your low back, mid, and upper are all engaged, and twist to your right like the left side of your stomach was going to engage and touch your inner right thigh. Now, check yourself on this one because the right knee, there's no hand holding it. The right knee wants to fall to the side. Flex that inner thigh and suck it in towards the belly. So this is all preparatory for later poses, Bharvajasana, Marcharasana, and stuff where it's very good to have a lot more mobility of the shoulder, upper back, and hip to do these twists. And it's not just about like the tight mid back or your tight hip joint. A lot of it is your upper back prohibits twisting. And so if you want more, always got to give the option. Not always. Take your left arm. We'll pause for a second. Bend your right knee deeper, same kind of lunge action. Take your right or left arm to the outside of your right knee and try to slide your left forearm down the outside of your right shin. Push the arm into the leg, leg into the arm, pull up on that pull and twist. You may not go very far. You may feel like you're tightened up and that you got a better twist when your arm was on the chair. It's okay to experiment with it. Core body. Navel pulled up. There you go. Take a few more deep breaths. Untwist. Switch legs. Left foot forward, right knee on the floor. Did you engage your right leg? I know I didn't say so, but we did in the last pose. Try it on this side. Pushing that right shin down like you're trying to straighten the leg. Hands on the chair. So you're leaning forward. If you can get your elbows down, great. If not, do what you can do. Marvel at what you're doing. Marvel at what your body feels in this, that you can even feel all of this. Left hand grabs the top bar of the chair. Right hand moves across towards the left side to grab anything, chair, leg, whatever. So it starts to give your shoulder the chance to begin the rotation. Bend your left elbow. Pull the left point of your left elbow up. And I want you to bend that elbow because if your elbow is locked straight, Pratama, you're going to end up working your shoulder neck. I don't care how tiny you think your arms are. Everybody should have some level of bend so that point of the elbow is starting to roll up. Even if you have to hook a strap around it just so you can get a bend, the bend is very important. If you do it straight, you're just going to squeeze your shoulder into your neck. No good. Pull that elbow up, pull with the right arm, take the breath, stretch the spine long, so your upper back's long, take the belly breath, pull the navel up so the low back, and then twist any degree deeper by pulling your left ribs to the sky and back, and pull your right ribs towards your inner left thigh. Squeeze your left thigh in towards the right side of your belly because the knee wants to fall out, right? The leg's not engaged. Did you remember your right shin? Check in with it. You remember the balance of your hips? Did your left hip come up really high? Your right hip doing all the downward action? Probably. There you go, Tristan. Good adjustment. Few more seconds, guys. Everyone's really good. Take a breath into it. Notice when you take deeper breaths into this, you might notice how one part was tighter on this side than the other or looser. And then each deep breath you take, you're going to feel a slight change in the stretch because what you're doing is using your lungs to move the muscle, the rib cage, the muscle, and create kind of a massage process to get to stuff that you can't get to any other way. All right, exhale up you go. All right. Have a seat on your chair. So when you sit on your chair, if you are on something very tall like a stool and your knees are not the height of your hips, please get something to put your feet on, suitcases, blocks, things like that. So you just, your knees are closer to the height of your hips. If you need a yoga chair, like you notice the chair that Tristan's using doesn't have a back on it. These are not very, you can buy these on the online and they're very expensive. Do not pay that. Order a simple metal chair and you can honestly just pop the back out. Like I just grab them, pull them out really hard. You can hammer them out. There's dozens of different ways of doing it. It's a very like $10 yoga prop that's very useful. Also, you give it to the guest you don't like, so like that metal bar pushes on their back. So multi-purpose life. So seated in your chair, bring your thighs together, knees together. Right hand goes to outer left knee. Left hand goes and grabs the seat of the chair somewhere. Not up on the back bar, but seat near your hip. Good. So keeping your arms straight, just try to twist to your left. Just experiment for a moment. With both arms straight, twist to your left. And feel where the twist happens, what muscles are trying to do it, and how much motion you have. Knees try to stay together. For me, when I do this, I know one thing is that my body starts to compress down. So the reason I have bend your elbows a lot is that it makes you flex the back muscles underneath the shoulder blade, because when we pull with the arm straight, it's all the front chest and the trapezes. So now holding your right hand to your outer left knee, your left hand back behind you, the seat of the chair, bend both elbows and pull out like you're trying to hulk out on the chair, and then feel the twist happen. There's a much greater range of motion. Don't look at me, do the pose. Bend your elbows, Chaya. Both of them. Better. So when you bend the elbows, feel how the upper back is now engaged into it. So each deep breath you take should be moving that range of motion. It's about how much we can engage those muscles under the shoulder blades. Now, when you take the deep breath here with the elbows bent, and notice when one arm bends, usually it's your dominant arm, the other arm wants to quit. So like Tristan starting to straighten her left elbow, I want her to bend it more. The dominant arm tends to overtake the non-dominant. Your dominant's usually the hand you write with, throw with, drive with. Take a deep breath and move your left ribs towards your left elbow. Pull your right bottom ribs towards your right elbow. So they're actually splitting their own action. Do it on the ribs up near the armpit. Do it to your collarbones. Take a nice deep breath. Untwist. Do your other side. No, don't. We're going to skip the straight arm thing. Good question, but no straight arms because we know how wrong. We know it's not as good. So let's, you can practice wrong later on your own. Keep your knees together as best you can. Left hand to outer right knee, right hand behind you. Try to twist and then bend the elbows and really spread. Make some space. Take some space for yourself. You're pretty complex. It needs a lot of room. Elbows bent, Pratima. Thank you. So when you bend the elbows, it often can feel like you're going to pull your chest down because that's your upper back wanting to engage. That shows a slouching habit, and I have it too. So the trick is to let those chest muscles that are not overworked lift so that as you flex those upper back, it's not the upper back rolling over the front, it's the front and back lifting at the simultaneous action to create a spinal rotation, front to back, left and right, that is long. You're screwing your spine up instead of down. Good use of couch, Ryan. Bend those elbows, everybody. Bend them a little more than you think you need to. And then take a breath and move your bottom left ribs towards your left elbow, bottom right ribs towards your right elbow. Are both engaging at the same time? Or can you do one and then the other? You got to kind of keep practicing to make them both work. Do your ribs closer to your armpit. And then check your neck. Are you rotating both sides of your neck equally? Are you picking up the neck equal to the ribs? Take in all of you. I said in class Tuesday that one of the big things that energizes me to teach is the feedback of all of you, seeing you shape, change, and move. I see fragments of the wonder of you. I have sometimes said that if I spend my life teaching so you can see the wonder that I see in you, it will be a good life. It will be a well-spent life. Take a couple more breaths. Enjoy the stretch of the rib cage and the back. All right, untwist. Stay seated. Now, take your left hand back behind you. Take your right hand to your left knee. Twist, bend the elbows, start the opening rotation. So before we lean forward and then twisted a lean spine, when you twist and then lean the spine, it actually changes the structure of how your upper back works in these poses. It's kind of neat. So twist as best you can, elbows pulling apart, front and back body lifted. Now keep that lift, keep that twist. You're going to bend your right elbow a little deeper, pull your right ribs down towards the space between your thighs, and slide your right elbow to the outside of your knee. The left hand will have to let go. You can take your hand higher up on the chair if you have a bar, or up on your couch or whatever you're using. Or if you have nothing, your left hand is on your left hip. Right. So now your right elbow is bent, push your right elbow into the leg, stretch that right side long. Even though you laterally move the body, doesn't mean crunch your right ribs into your stomach. Stretch those right ribs long. Lengthen your right rib cage. And wherever your left hand is, left elbow is, bend it and pull it away so your chest and back opens up. Take your right hand to your left hand to right hand. Stack your palms. Your forearms are one contiguous line. Push and rotate any degree. Take a nice deep breath. Ready for the fun part? No, no one's ready. Try to lift your hips off the chair and edge. And hold the twist. Don't let your butt swing. Now re-extend your spine. Take a couple breaths. Come in for a landing. Nice. Good job, everybody. Right hand back behind you, left hand grabs right knee. Start the hand low and then go high. Don't skip a step. I appreciate the eagerness, but still, the journey is the big point. There's no end to this. Bend both elbows wide to start the rotation. Are your hips level? Did one's twist forward, the other twist back? Keep your knees tight. Your knees will tattle on you. If one knee juts forward faster than the other, it'll catch you. Bend the elbows. Open the ribs, upper back. Are you lifting the chest and upper back equally? If you feel like your chest is being constricted down, take a breath deep into the upper lungs. So you feel that lift and then rotate with that lift so the upper back doesn't overcompensate. Good, keep your twist. Start to lean your left body towards the space between your thighs, moving your right hand up as you need, even if it's onto your hip. And then when your left elbow touches your knees or thighs, slide it over to the outside of the knee. So regardless of where your arms are, your elbows are bent, your right elbow is pulling up to open the chest. Even if you're just open the air because you can't get your hand on your hip, that's okay. But then push the arm into the leg and check your spine. Did you shorten the left side of your rib cage down into your abdomen? Open it back up. It was long and tall when you were starting the twist. Can you keep it long and tall when you transition into it? This actually is where the challenge comes and where it starts to open and elongate the right side of our body. We're not doing these on the floor because a lot of these twists you can do variations, Bhardvajasana and Maritrasana on the floor and many others. But so often I see compression of the spine, you don't get the full lift and extension. You practice seated twisting higher with high heights, you're going to get much more relief if you take the opportunity to elongate your spine. Great. Do the best you can. Take right hand to left hand, create the straight line to the forearms, push hand to hand. And even though your right elbow, your right hand's pushing down into the left, pick that right elbow up and rotate. So if you're shortening the left side of your spine, the right side of your neck is going to be short. So stretch the left side of your spine, stretch the right side of your neck. And breathe. Take the deeper breath. Every twist, I think, is a wonderful opportunity to give yourself an internal massage that can't be done any other way. All right, try to lift your hips up off the chair an inch. Don't let your hips swing. Don't let the power of your upper body twist totally throw your pelvis out of whack. Even if your feet are a little bit apart to help your balance. And even if you only kind of like start to lift in your muscle cramps, good, you're trying. You're engaging your body into the work. All right, exhale, come on down for a landing, untwist. Good. All right, come up off of your chair. Go ahead and move your chairs off your mats if you have them there. Let's grab your strap, and you're gonna watch Tristan first, but I'm gonna have Tristan lay on her back with her head towards the computer. Lay down. So Tristan's gonna take her strap and make a loop out of it, and the loop is gonna be about as wide as her hips. She's going to take the strap and put it around her calf muscles. She's going to bend her knees to her chest, put it around her calves. The thicker part of the calf, don't put it up on the ankle or on the knee, put it around the thick calf muscle. And she's going to bend her knees. The knee is directly above the hip. The shin is the height of the knee, breaking the strap. So you're at a 90-degree with that strap breaking. So what you can see here on the camera that she can if she looks at her knees, is one knee has come closer towards the groin than the other. Her left knee is hanging out, her right knee is cutting in. She's got to kind of readjust those hips so each work equally, and it's going to feel weird. But when we do twisting, one leg inevitably rotates with the pelvis more than the other. This is our natural twist. Every single person has a little bit of a scoliotic curve and a rotation. This really makes it show up if you pay attention to it. Natural, everyone does, don't panic. But when you start to twist laying down, if you push against your natural twist, it can feel very compressed and cause a lot of pain. And it can actually slip discs and all sorts of other stuff. I'm not saying it's common, but it can. So she's going to keep that strap very tight. And now she's going to take both legs to the right. Arms go out to wide so they don't collapse. But it's not all the way to the floor. I only want her to go far enough. She feels her left hip pick up off the floor, just to feel how the left leg wants to unengage, or the left knee comes to the body faster than the right. So you're going to watch your knees as you do this to make sure your knees stay equidistance away from your body and the strap stays engaged. One's not twisted in, the other's not twisted out. This is actually quite a bit of challenge because it's going to strengthen your lateral body, challenge the openness of your hips, and start to move those tight pelvis to low back muscles that get very compressed when we sit. And then after, I'll tell you, have you hold it for a while, keep the strap engaged. Don't let the knees contort. When you come out, go to the other side. Only far enough the hip comes up off the floor. Then check in with your alignment. And we're going to do this back and forth for a while. And then until we're closer to the floor. We will not be laying our legs on the floor. This is about stabilizing the core muscles to release the back to open the hips. And then we're going to put the strap around the thigh and do it and make it a little harder. Ready? You have seen go do. Yeah, I know. You don't want to see the look she's giving me. Trust me, you'll all want to give it to me later. Put your feet on the ground,
Okay, well.
all right, calf muscles, knees are bent. Knees above hips, feet the height of your knee. So it's a 90-degree of thigh bone to shin bone. Legs up. Do not straighten your legs in this. Break that strap as hard as you can. And then look at your knees. Did one knee turn out faster than the other? From the center of your navel groin, is one knee closer to your navel than the other? Do your best, visually feel it, correct it. And then look at your feet. I didn't say this on the video before, but I always like to leave a surprise. Is one foot kind of turned in and the other out? So can you look at your feet and re-even out your feet? So you're working your inner, outer thigh, top, bottom thigh. Now take your arms out wide, take a few breaths. Second exhale, twist to your right, keeping your legs strong and stable in that line of action, only far enough you feel your left hip come up off the floor, and then hold. And then play with it, kind of like, did one foot go higher than the other? Can you correct it? Does one leg want to give out faster than the other? Can you break the strap? Can you keep power against the strap? Go to the left, just far enough you feel that hip come up a little. Trust me, you don't want to go super deep. We're going to do this for a while. Check your feet. Check how your knees want to, misalign, because that's showing up what's in your hip. Instead of it coming from your stabilizing back and core, it's wanting to happen from the knee, inner groin, lower spine. We're trying to get all the back, not just the low back. Back to center. Go to your right again, this time a little farther. So instead of going like 3 inches, you're going 5, maybe 6. So you're doubling the distance. We're going to add about 3 inches every time. Check your feet. Did your knees come close to you? Yeah. It's a very common thing when we get really tight in the hips and back to pull our knees close when we twist, because then we're just kind of torquing the inner groin pelvis. So you got to keep those knees directly in line with the hips so the knees don't come closer to the thigh. Break the strap. Did one foot come closer to the other? I say the left foot probably hung out near the right foot. So you really got to break the strap. Okay, go to the left, center, and then about 6 inches over. Check in with the self. Breathe into it. Couple deep breaths. Did one foot go higher than the other? Other than just the twist, like, is one knee trying to straighten? Back to center. Break the strap. Check your feet, knees, take a breath. I know this is getting tough. So now get your breath, go to the right 9 inches. So your knees are, about halfway to the floor roughly. But there's a point when we start to twist where you start to go and then you feel like you have to catch yourself. You always want to kind of stop just before that point and work there, because that's when certain muscles want to give out, the groin, low back, and other parts want to take in. Check your thighs, are they both equidistance away?
That feels closer on the right.
This is there you go. Break the strap, keep your feet equal distance apart as the knee, so you're pushing against the part of the strap, the edge of the strap that's closest to your knee and the closest that's to your foot. Up, go to the left about halfway, breathe. Bend your knees more, Glenda, your feet should not be that high. Don't pull your knees closer to your chest, keep your knees above your hips, just bend your knees and drop your heels down towards the ground some more. If you got your support puppy around, it's a good time to get a pet. Take a couple breaths. Up you go. And go to the right 12 inches so you're, pretty close to the ground.
Just want to get him out of the way.
Work the legs, work against the strap. Are your feet equidistance apart? Feel how the core muscles are working. Your back, as you breathe deeper, stretches open into it a little more. Break the strap. All the way up, go to the left. Go almost like, you're about 6 inches from the floor with the left knee, roughly. 6 to 10, let's say that. Break that strap. Are your feet pulling apart? Are your feet and knees still equidistance apart? Are your feet coming together, your knees wide? Try to keep that equalness. We can make this really hard and put a strap around your ankles, your calf, and your thighs. Then it's really killer. If you have 3 straps at home, or 3 belts or whatever, try it sometime. Leg up. All right, here we go. Last one on the side. All the way to the right, but your knee 1 inch from the floor. Right knee 1 inch from the floor. If you can't go that far without losing the pose, you go as far as you can. Remember what I said, there's that point where you feel like you're going to drop out of it. Pause there and work that. That's more important than getting some arbitrary idea of distance. I use it just as an example of where to move your body and explore. Not that it's the right way for you, but it's a way you could start moving and working towards. Legs up to the left. Keep those knees bent. Try not to let them straighten or bend any deeper. You're trying to keep the legs very stable to teach your pelvis, to keep your pelvis stable so you work very well into the back muscle. We've twisted a lot. There's a lot of talk, like in the yoga world, about what twisting does for the body. Like they used to say, like you squeeze and wring out the organs so fresh blood can get in. Like it's full of a lot of very nice poetic ideas about human health. But what does happen is you actually do put pressure on the adrenals, which causes them to have to relax a little bit, reduces adrenal fatigue. It actually stabilizes your pelvis and spine. It is what I call the great neutralizer. Whatever actions or movements you do, twisting is almost always going to help heal or correct it if done properly. Untwist. Good news though, I'm not going to go over on time, so we're not going to put it around your thighs today. Such joy. Take a moment, laying on your back, stretch your legs out, let your eyes close for a minute, let your arms relax. And just with your eyes closed for a moment, feel the body. We're only going to be here for just maybe a minute or two. But check in with yourself, your breath, and the work you've done. And because we're all looking for something different. What's different for you now than versus an hour ago? And is that something that you want to take with you when you go out of this hour and out in your world? Can you take something off of your yoga mat into the rest of your world? And it doesn't have to be just, I'm going to do this more, I'm going to do this pose, right? That's the easy, thinking that we don't get the benefits without even harder work. But remember what I said at the start. We are already complex and colorful and not just, like I said, red, yellows, black, white, blue, greens. It's our complexity of how we feel, what we think, what comes to us. Is some of that going to come off the mat and go into the world with you? For me, I found a lot of courage to speak my mind after my yoga practice. And other times I found safety in exploring my emotions, or that I felt like I could share something really wonderful. Thus, I'm here today. And it doesn't always have to be that big. It might be even small. You might have just twisted enough that you decided what you want for dinner. But can you take something off this hour, or when you practice at home, that 10 minutes, that 2 hours, whatever it is, so that you start to show up in the world, all that you are, just in a glimmer and glimpse of a moment. Because the world doesn't need more right answers. It needs your voice. It needs all of you. So, my friends, with each deep breath in, slow breath out, enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice. Take a nice deep breath in, stretch your arms overhead, lengthening through one side of the body and then the other, letting that inhale invigorate, energize you in all points, tips of the fingers, ends of toes, all points between. Bend your knees, roll to your right side, press your palms into the floor, and on an exhale, slowly up you come. All right. If you want to ask a question, got a couple minutes before I'm going to go eat dinner, because I can already tell by my stuttering and forgetting things, I'm starting to calorie crash. So, anyone got anything? If you don't got a question, you can always just leave give a comment. Tell the dogs how much you love seeing them hang out, whatever.
I have a question, Dustin.
Yeah, what's up, Scott? Stacy, that's Stacy. That's right.
That would be Stacy, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. Because when I was holding my arm back.
Yeah.
So on both sides, total tingling and numbness in my fingers.
Okay, so I'm glad I'm sorry you had that, but I'm glad you asked about it. So when we start to rotate, here's the lift, right? The arm is in line with the shoulder joint still, yes? When we twist, if you take the arm back past the line of the shoulder joint, so what happens is it compresses the muscle across the front of the shoulder joint, pec major and minor. It will pinch the thoracic out, the nerve system through there, and that's what causes the tingling numbness. It is more important, that's why I had you stretch your arm up in this. I didn't emphasize it, but it's a good point now. When you rotate the ribs, you only take the arm in line with the shoulders, both shoulders, not back past that point, because that will just create that nerve and that nerve tension and create that problem.
Okay.
So your arm is just an extension of the plane of the shoulders, not back past it. Especially right now, if you're prone to a lot of seated work, like we all are, this pulling against this without the correct upper back mobility will cause problems. Eventually, you get to do crazy stuff where you get the suppleness of the chest and back, and your arm wraps around and all sorts of stuff. But right now, if you have that, the arm only goes in the plane of the shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else? No? All right. So it's so lovely. Sarah, one, Ryan, Chaya, Alec, Linda, Libby, Margaret, Sanjeev, Shubha, 3, Stacy, Scott, Stu. Thank you, Tristan. Like it's like it's like the 4th week of this, right? And so everyone sees. I'm so grateful that you've been willing to do this for them and for me. I am absolutely have a phobia about like my own body being shown in yoga poses. Almost makes me cry thinking about it. And I'm so very grateful for you for your willingness to do this and participate, because it helps them and it helps me be able to show up in a way that I can feel good about. So thank you. And we're going to keep going, right? Even as this keeps going, we'll keep sharing. And I look forward to the point where we could all meet together again in the studio. So until we meet again, namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Dustin and Christine.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dustin and Tristan.
Thanks, everybody.
You both have a good night.
Yeah, you too, Ryan. Bye, everybody.